process Agile Scrum, we decided on Agile initially to help organize the planning for our user stories and tasks. While we used Agile to track various tasks, we did not necessarily adhere to the standard plan of stand-ups during sprints. Typically, any issues or thoughts were discussed in real time via our Slack channel. In retrospective, one change that we would have made would have been better implementation tasks for user stories for better use of tracking tasks. Sponsor pair programming design. A process that helped us better work toward the design our sponsor had in mind for the project was pair programming design with our sponsors. Engaging in this style of pair programming from the start will probably have resulted in a much quicker realization of the needs of our sponsor. The time spent working on a game style interface would have probably been discarded in favor of the dashboard much earlier on in the process. Non-traditional stand-up and weekly meetings. Typically during Agile process stand-up meetings are used to address issues as they arise. We also use weekly meetings typically with our sponsor present to address more major issues. Originally we had planned on more closely following traditional rules of Agile, but found it worked best for us to adapt it to our situation.
Our design and architecture evolved greatly throughout the course of the project, right down to the game interface itself. Originally, our sponsor envisioned a SimCity style of gameplay. This went from a 3D game to a 2D game to a 2D game with limited user input to a cockpit-style dashboard with bar graphs and charts and later gauges to replace those. In response to the ever-changing and evolving set of requirements, we found it necessary to scrap our original client, created using the Unity game engine, and replace it with a JavaScript-powered web interface. One of the design constraints we faced was to facilitate the eventual collection of large amounts of gameplay data for use in building a machine learning model. Based on this requirement, as well as the need to be multi-platform in later iterations of the project, we opted to use a client-server model with the core simulation being run on the server. Looking back now, if we could do just one thing differently, I think it would be to put the simulation engine on the client. This is a major design change, so doing it later will be costly. However, it has begun to look like it may be necessary based on what the non-functional requirements continue to evolve toward. Our sponsor expressed his intention at the beginning of the project to continue with the development well beyond the scope of this class, and we intend on discussing the prospect of revisiting the overall design after the course is over. If the project were done without the time constraints imposed by the course, I would have seen a lot more time go into fleshing out the requirements and design. Overall, we are satisfied with how far we have come with the design and architecture of the system, as is our sponsor, and we are excited to see where it will go in the future.
Hi everyone, this is Thomas Curry, and I'm going to be going over our tools. The first main thing we used is GitHub for versioning control and as a repository for our code. And they worked great for that. The one problem we had was maybe some of the members weren't as fluent with Git commands as they should have been, so some changes were accidentally pushed, but due to the nature of Git, it was really easy to fix. Another tool we used was Slack, which ended up being a really great way for the team to quickly and easily communicate. But one of the drawbacks of that was you kind of assume that everybody is going to be tracking the Slack forums, but it's very easy for a team member to miss maybe a conversation that happened very quickly on Slack, and so you become reliant on everyone paying attention to the Slack channel. In our original project plan, the team had wanted to use Unity for the game development part of the project, but it turns out that the focus of our project changed from gaming aspects to more of a scientific tool. So the team decided to switch the whole GUI and client side to a web app. For simplicity's sake, just because Unity was overkill for the graphic requirements of our program. The tool we used to document our project process was Taiga, documenting our Scrum, and it was a great place to track our task board, our sprints, and our user stories, but it also required that we were good about updating the page and the tasks and moving them through the columns, which we weren't as good about as we should have been. One of our team members, Greg, was really great at using Photoshop to create quick mock-ups and prototypes for the UI, which was great because we could just draw something up really fast during a meeting and with the sponsor and show it to him and get feedback right there. We used Skype for our sponsor meetings, and that turned out to have quite a few issues with it, but we were all able to effectively communicate across various devices, so it worked out.
This
is Terry Turner with Team 15 SIMOC. I'll be going over the teamwork part of the design retrospective. First of all, what worked well was our sponsor participation. He was very involved with us implementing this project. Our sponsor's vision, we were able to basically implement the features he wanted and needed for this project to be considered a success. And team communication was very good. We communicated through Slack and through Skype very effectively. Some things that could be improved would be relating to project management, basically meeting deadlines, and that comes back to better time management. Also relating to task and work, assignment, tracking, distribution, and completion, those could be improved. There was times when people were either working on the same task, didn't have a task assigned to them, or were not able to complete their task, and that comes back to better task, assignment, tracking, distribution, and completion.